I just got done listening to Ilhan Omar talk about how horrible and terrible and dirty and everything else that this country is. Denigrating this country, denigrating half of the people in it. This country has been very kind, benevolent, and gracious to her and countless others. We gave her asylum. We gave her a place to live. We gave her an education. We gave her a pathway to become a sitting United States congressman. But to me, it goes deeper than that. See, I'm an Iraq and Afghanistan veteran. I was 22 years old when those planes flew into those buildings, and me and thousands of other young men across this country answered the call to go over there and combat this evil that was on our shores, that had finally hit us. And what we were told over and over again is that we go over there and we fight them over there, we will not have to fight them here. And now here we are. We're retired. We're out. We're ready to start pursuing a life of our own. And what does this country do to that enemy that we went over there and we fought to keep over there because that's what we were told? We kissed our families goodbye. I watched my wife cry while I got on that bus to go to the airport or go to the airfield. I watched my son cry because he didn't know if or when he was going to see me again. And then I come home. I've been retired for 8 years. And I come home and what are we seeing? We're seeing entire communities being taken over by the very people that we fought to keep off of our shores. Dearborn Mission is completely freaking taken over. Now we have mosques in Minnesota, Texas, Missouri, all over the country, promoting Sharia law. Do we really have to tell people that Sharia law is incompatible with the United States Constitution? We were told that if we fought them over there, we would not have to fight them here. But what do we have? What did you do? You elected it mayor of New York. You gave it Senate seats in Minnesota. Now I want you to turn around. I want you to find an Iraq and Afghanistan veteran somewhere around you, and I want you to look them in the eye and tell them why they should not feel betrayed.
All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you all as you watch this broadcast. It's time for Pop and Politics. I'm KJ. Let me introduce you to my co-hosts. Of course, we have Nicole Bennett.
Hey, y'all.
Shelly E. And back with us as in every Monday night is Tyrone Keys of Soldiers of Finance right here on YouTube. How's everybody doing tonight?
Doing great.
Good.
All right. Well, we got a lot to get to, folks. Before we light this fire, do your part. Tap that thumbs up, smash that subscribe button, and turn on your notifications. We're live here on YouTube. If you're on the go, you can catch us on Apple Podcast or Spotify under the name Pop and Politics. We love our chat. We shout out every super chat. So drop your thoughts, show your love, and join the conversation that the mainstream media wishes didn't exist. This is not just a podcast. It's a movement of God-fearing, truth-seeking, America-loving people that value freedom. Stand with us and subscribe so we can amplify this rallying call for freedom. All right, everybody, let's set it off. Today is the 1st of December, last month of 2025. We are about to move into 2026 and things are heating up. All right. So again, folks, as you come in, hit that like button. We have a goal to hit 250,000 subscribers by the end of the year. We can only do it with your help. So please hit that like button and subscribe. All right. Before we get into what that gentleman was talking about at the top of the show, I want to quickly get to some of these quick pops, breaking news and headlines we can't ignore. All right. Of course, Venezuela showdown escalates. So Trump denies war crime smears, but Maduro is saying that's not the case. So Trump has done a holistic crackdown on Venezuela drug boats, drawing Democrats crying war crimes. Pete Hegseth did confirm he did authorize a boat to kill 25,000 Americans. No, not Americans. Well, it was a boat, I believe, that
a double tap.
Okay. And so I want to get your thought on this, Shelly. First off, do you think this was okay? Because there are some on the right that are saying he went too far.
Yeah, there's some on the right, some on the left, of course, is saying that. Look, number one, I have no love lost for narco terrorists, drug dealers coming to our shores. I have no love lost for that. However, if I'm going to be true to the Constitution, I can see where the dispute and the discrepancies may come, and that it may be investigated even by Republicans who are supportive of President Trump. So I can see how that can play out as well.
All right. Again, we are going to hit some of these pretty fast. These are our quick pop breaking news and headlines before we really dig into the stories and the issues for today. Another big headline out today, the border. So ICE has nabbed 2 illegals convicted of child crimes in New Jersey and Texas. Vicious criminals, of course, let in under Biden. Anti-ICE protesters have trapped agents in New York City, a New York City garage, and the House bans Hamas-linked entrance unanimously. Plus, Harvard hires anti-Israel protesters who assaulted a student. What are your thoughts, quick thoughts on this, Nicole, what we're seeing with the border, with these illegals and the things I just mentioned?
Listen, the leftists are fighting back. So this is where we need to show resolve. We absolutely need to cut funding to any university that runs afoul of what we find our cultural norms. As far as quote unquote protesters blocking ICE into any facility, any federal officer impeding him or her from doing their duty is a crime. They have to stop playing around with these people, slaps on the wrist and sending them home to their kids, lock their asses up. All of them.
All right. All right. Another hot headline out today. Republicans' Obamacare headaches returns. So with the ACA subsidies expiring, Republicans face pressure to overhaul the mess without alienating voters. Rising premiums under Biden's watch are the real villain. Again, tied to economy woes in the 4 big stories. This is one of the things we're going to talk about tonight. Soldiers of finance. What do you think about this? Is this a real headache for the GOP, or how should they navigate it?
Republicans, listen, this is very easy. Write a bill, price transparency in medical billing, competition across state lines, and professional pools. This will bring down prices literally overnight. If you're not in bed with the healthcare lobby, prove it. Write that bill and tell the American people that this is going to bring down prices, and it will.
All right. And final headline before we dig into the gist of everything is the birth rate divide. So liberals are breeding their own demise. A conservative report warns political fertility gaps could reshape America. Democrats are having fewer kids means fewer future voters for their nonsense. Over half of childless women say no thanks to motherhood, per fresh statistics. Shelly, what do you think about this?
If they don't want them, don't have them. I don't care who it is. So I'm fine with that. And I'm equally fine on a personal reason that they won't be breeding more leftists. So to reproduce, that's personal. But philosophically, if you don't want them, you're not going to take care of them, don't have them.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm happy about it. But we need more conservatives to have more babies as well. So definitely we will continue to follow that story. All right, folks. So again, this was our quick pop segment, just breaking news and headlines we can't ignore. We're not going to dig into these topics tonight, but these are things that are on our radar and we may touch on throughout the week. All right, so let's get into what we're talking about tonight. Folks, Biden's open borders didn't just invite chaos, they armed killers with our tax dollars. Walz's Minnesota, a fraud factory funding terrorists, while Democrats virtue signal about everything else under the sun, like diversity and all kinds of stuff. But guess what? Trump's just declared he's pausing the invasion because Democrats, like Secretary Noem said, no more killers and leeches leeching off of America. Okay, so we got to get into this. As we talked about, was it Friday? 2 National Guard soldiers deployed to D.C. for security ops were ambushed in a targeted shooting near the Capitol. One has succumbed to her wounds. Sarah Beckstrom, SPC. What's that? Sergeant?
Specialist
Sarah Beckstrom. She was 20 years old from West Virginia, succumbed to her wounds. Specialist Andrew Wolf is still clinging to life, folks. He's in critical condition. We must keep him in our prayers. I've been praying for him this weekend also. The suspect, 29-year-old Afghan national who entered the U.S. in 2021 on a special immigrant visa after supposedly aiding U.S. forces. Turns out this guy's got mental health issues. He's been isolated, radicalized, and now he's slapped with first-degree murder charges. Trump's response, he went nuclear. In a fiery Thanksgiving Eve address on Truth Social, he said, I will permanently pause migration from all third world countries to allow the U.S. system to fully recover. No timeline, it's indefinite. Want to get your thoughts on this, Nicole. What do you think about this?
From my perspective, it shouldn't only be third world countries. We should pause all immigration, period, until we can get this thing sorted. When you leave something of value unattended and bad things happen to it, you need some time to recover. And that's where we are. We need some healing time, some time to recover, some time to sort, what's going on. Because if we continue at the pace that we're going, it's not only going to affect our culture, but our ability to protect ourselves. And that is most paramount when you think about what's happening in these small sects around the country. Again, it only took 12 of them for 9/11. Right? Wow. We can't continue to allow people who were not vetted, and not because someone was sleeping on their job, but you can't vet someone from a third world country. They don't have records to vet, right? So they can't come. But instead, we have millions of them here. So we have to lock the front door and spank the kids we got. This is where we are with it at this point. I 100% agree with the president. However, not just third world countries, all of them. No more immigration. We need to stop for a while.
Well, take a look here. This is Tom Homan. He made a huge announcement, says most of the third world migrants let in will be deported, he says, because it's not even possible to vet them. Mm-hmm. This is clip 1. Take a look.
Understand, in these third world nations, they don't have systems like we do. So a lot of these Afghanistans, when they did get here and get vetted, they had no identification at all. Not a single travel document, not one piece of identification. And we're going to count on the people that run Afghanistan, the Taliban, to provide us any information who the bad guys were or who the good guys are? Certainly not. And many people need to understand that most terrorists in this world, most of them, aren't in any database. Because unless they were found on a battlefield by DOD in the retina scan and did into biometrics there, unless you're part of a T3 undercover investigation, we don't know who they are. So, in the same thing with illegal aliens, that over 10 million that came across the border in Joe Biden, there's no way to vet these people. You think El Salvador or Turkey or Sudan or any of these countries have the databases or system checks that we have? Do you think the government of China, Russia, Turkey, you think they're going to share that data with us even if they did have it? There's no way to clearly vet these people, 100% that they're safe to come in this country, from these third world nations. President Trump's doing the right thing, reviewing every one of these people that came under the Biden administration and drilling down on them. I really, truly think that most of them are going to end up being deported because we're not going to be able to properly vet them.
Wow. Shelley, he said there's no way to clearly vet these people. What? Do you agree with them?
Absolutely. This is called bureaucracy. This is called big government. The bigger the government, the smaller the citizen. It's as simple as that. Name me one program, number one, government program that not only that doesn't get bigger. Number two, and if it gets bigger, if it works well, it certainly does not work to the benefit of the American people. Name me one. If it stays small, which it doesn't, Name me one. It does not work. Stop the immigration, the illegal immigration, certainly. Lock up the doors, so to speak. Remember during the scamdemic, we saw those poor people in China. They were literally being sealed, vacuum sealed, if you will, in their homes. That's what we need to do for our border, theoretically. We need to do that quickly. This does not work. There's no way that any government administration can vet these people. The programs get bigger. We get more carve-outs, but it still doesn't work. Americans are still coming here, they're still coming here, and Americans are footing the bill for these mullahs from these third world countries. We can't do it. It cannot be done. It's too big. It's too out of control. We should have learned certainly at 9/11, but we didn't. What do? We found ways to offer more carve-outs, find ways to offer more asylum and certain types of amnesty. We think we're doing a favor to the world. Well, guess what, United States? Guess what, government? The world does not give a damn about us. In fact, many millions in the world want to destroy us. Get rid of them.
Yeah. Tyrone, so what has changed? Because it's not all of a sudden, maybe it is. Is it all of a sudden the United States can't vet people when they come in, or has this always been an ongoing issue and they can't vet? They've never been able to properly vet migrants. Because we've always had, immigration and these types of people coming in.
Well, you got to look at Afghanistan. Actually, believe it or not, Afghanistan used to be a tourist destination in the 50s and 60s.
Mm-hmm.
It was not until it took a theocratic, they went toward the theocratic slide, really fundamentalist Islamic state with the Taliban, that it just devolved almost instantly. So I think Trump is right. When you talk about importing people from the third world, not only are you transporting them through space, you're transporting them through time. They're getting here to this country, and it's just not culturally compatible. It just is not. Okay. And somebody needs to say that. I'm glad Trump is starting to intimate that, because what's wrong with wanting immigrants to be able to contribute to the country, right? Now, if you decide you want to become a citizen of Mexico, Mexico will require you to come there with a way to support yourself. All right. If you legally immigrate to Mexico, you will never be eligible for public assistance. All right. So they love Mexico so much, they need to start adopting some of these principles that they have. Okay. So, yeah, we're not the world's savior. And we definitely do need to cut immigration from culturally incompatible locales. And not pause it, just stop it.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Shelley, you want to, before I get you in, Nicole?
Yeah. We just have a few super chatters. I'm sorry. We have a few super chatters here. We have Laura. Thank you for your $5 super chat. She says, y'all ever seen that movie Airplane? Bad day to go fishing in Venezuela. LOL. Thank you, Laura, for that. Kung Fu CJ, thank you for your $5 super chat. He says, if you are a vet, you should be thinking and saying, put me in coach. Okay. All right. And Laura's back again with a $2 super chat. She says they open gas stations in 7-Eleven stores. Exactly. Tyrone, to your comment, Trump over the weekend, but guess what? He heard us last week because we said the same thing. I like that he heard us.
All right. Yeah. And so thank you guys so much for your super chats. We really appreciate each and every one. All right. So, Nicole, there's been some pushback from Democrats. And basically, the core pushback is they're saying that, this pause is dehumanizing. It's vague. and legally shaking is what they're saying. They're saying that this was something I believe Senator Richard Blumenthal, a Democrat from Connecticut, says it's he backs better screening, but he blasts the pause as overkill. What are your thoughts on, or your response to that?
Well, you know, when we think about immigration and our legislators, especially those on the left-hand side of the aisle, they have a vested interest in keeping them.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter how many Americans they kill. Doesn't matter how many people are assaulted or damaged or eliminated. It doesn't matter to them. For them, this is just a power grab. Remember, they've taken very big steps away from putting America anywhere near their hearts, to have any allegiance to this nation or its citizens. So they're really not a part of this conversation. This is a conversation for adults. The children should just sit and be quiet unless we want to call on them. In this moment, we need to protect the homeland. That's what this is about. This is not just an American thing. You see this sweeping across Europe. At this point, the only nation that I know that's willing to take migrants, unskilled, uneducated, refusing to assimilate and speak the language is Spain. Spain has a plan. They need people to clean their houses, grow their food, and watch their children. So they're saying, come on. But don't expect to grow rich here. Don't expect to be comfortable here. You're coming here as a lower class citizen, and you will remain a lower class citizen. The rest of the world has had enough. When you see Denmark, who is the poster child for liberalism, I mean, absolutely poster child for liberalism. Taxes so high, you might as well not even work. I mean, it's just ridiculous there. Denmark has adopted what they call a far right policy, saying no more immigration. And if your child is 2 years old, they need to go to re-education camp, because these Islamic children are going to have to be Christians. They're going to have to learn how to celebrate Christmas, because that's our culture. They're going to have to learn the language, because that's our culture. They're literally tearing down what they like to call their ghettos. They're saying no burqas, none of that. So everywhere is saying that these people just don't assimilate. The one group of people who've had nothing to say about this, however, are the people who look like them, who believe like them, who speak similar languages. What is it, 52 Arab nations around the world? How come they're not taking their people? That's the big question. That's a $64,000 question.
Because they know, as Candace Owens would say. They know. I don't know, but I know. Yeah. So, yeah. But Tyrone, I want to get your thoughts on this, because again, these Democrats are saying that these mass deportations will tank the economy. What are your thoughts there?
Mass deportations will actually help the housing market, because it's already improved traffic in several cities throughout America. But one of the problems with the housing market is the average age of a first-time home buyer is now 40 years old. Okay? It's because housing is so expensive. The average price of a new home is over $500,000, and the average price of an existing home is well over $400,000. So these young people cannot afford to get into these houses, and one of the reasons why is because there's so much competition for housing, and that's in part driven by illegal immigration. You saw this in microcosm in New York a couple of years ago. If you visited that city, you were hard pressed to get a hotel room, because they were housing all of the immigrants in some of the finest hotels up there. Okay. And so what that did was it constrained the supply and pushed the price up. We're seeing the same thing in the housing market. So there is this trope out there that wants people to believe that Americans don't know how to harvest crops. All right. They want you to believe that no American knew what the hell a banana was until we started importing labor. Okay. And that's a lie. All right. One of the most insidious aspects of this is when people think of the H-1B visa program, they think of tech workers, but they've got hotel custodians in here on the H-1B visa program
Mhm.
And that's supposed to be a program set aside for labor you can't find in the United States. You can't find somebody to make a damn bed. Okay, that's a lie. What you are doing is importing cheap labor, okay, labor that you can intimidate, and labor that will work every holiday. So, yeah, this definitely needs to come to an end.
Yeah. And folks, please mute Tyrone. Somebody mute him. Mute Tyrone. No, I'm joking. But if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, you gotta watch Just the Guys podcast recent show on Saturday. Wow, it got heated, folks. Got heated. Of course, Tyrone was on there. He's part of the Just the Guys cast. They were talking about socialism versus capitalism. And this conversation kind of reminds me of that, because the idea that you just mentioned, that there are, I don't know if this would be private employers, I don't know if this is part of the government plan, but to bring over these people who clearly don't fit what we are told the H-1B visa program is supposed to be about, specialized careers in technology and things that they know how to do. They're bringing over cheap labor. So do you think this is them circumventing the capitalist or capitalism, or is this part of capitalism? Is this what?
No, this is a bastardization of capitalism.
Yes, exactly.
You brought up the show on Saturday, and one of the examples I gave on there was the way that the healthcare system is run. There is no product or service that you purchase except healthcare where you don't know what the price is until after you've consumed it. And that benefits the healthcare companies. All right. That's not capitalism. That is some strange bastardization that benefits the corporations. Capitalism is supposed to be symbiotic.
Exactly.
The consumer and the corporation. So that the way they're doing that H-1B visa is not.
Exactly. No. And that H-1B visa is another example of a government program that has gotten bigger, it's expanded, it has gone from what it was intended to do to absolutely almost everything that is not. Again, show me a government program that, number one, stays small, and number two, even if it gets bigger, which it shouldn't, where it works to the benefit of Americans in doing what it's supposed to do. How efficient is it? No. And number three, KJ, I'm sorry, I just want to say this to Mr. Blumenthal. He's talking about the dehumanization and overkill. Well, you know what, sir? There's no overkill and dehumanization like dead Americans. How about that? How about that? Is that enough for you for dehumanization and overkill? Dead Americans by these third world mullahs.
Yeah. Nicole, I want to get your thoughts on the idea, that question I had about how this H-1B one, they're using it to bring over cheap labor, and how that's not really capitalism.
It really isn't. But, it's not just the H-1B visa program. It's the totality of our immigration processes. When you look at USCIS and the way that they conduct business, it's kind of on an honor system. And it should not be that way. It should not be, we're going to give you the keys to our house until you show off, and then we're going to try to take the keys away from you. It should be, prove to me that you deserve to be here first. Like every other nation on the planet. Like every other nation on the planet. Listen, I get it. We have a life that most other nations dream about. The things we take for granted, they pray for. I get 100% that God's hand is on this nation and has been since its inception. We've had rough times. We've overcome a lot. We've got a very bright future if we can hold it together. And this is one of those challenging moments if we can hold it together. We know definitively that capitalism works. There's no if, and buts about it. We are a living testament to the proof of that capitalism works. Our nation celebrates 250 years starting next year, 2026. We are a baby on the world stage, an absolute toddler. We're a toddler with some powerful weapons and the will to fuck you up if you act up. However, we're still a toddler age-wise. Why is it that our immigration system is full of loopholes and reasons why? And, some things should be automatically disqualifications, and it shouldn't take 7 years of quote unquote due process to prove it. We're killing our own selves. We're killing our own people. The whole system needs to be overhauled, but not in one fell swoop. They need to be systematic and methodical as they move through every single process of migrating to this great nation. And that probably shouldn't take place for maybe another 20 years. We should lock the door, give ourselves a 20-year reprieve, and then consider smart migration, not just taking anything that shows up at our front door. We're better than that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And as you mentioned, I mean, the loopholes are massive in our immigration system. And not only loopholes, but fraud. So that takes us to the latest on the Somali fraud in Minnesota. All right. So, folks, from the latest reports, over 400 current and former Minnesota Department of Human Services DHS employees are pointing fingers directly at Tim Walz for engineering a culture of fear and fraud protection. They claim he ignored red flags on massive scams, installed cronies to bury audits, and retaliated against anyone who dared speak up. Think threats, surveillance, and even family intimidation. Okay, the Feeding Our Future program is ground zero, a supposed child nutrition initiative that ballooned into the nation's largest COVID-era fraud scheme, with fraudsters pocketing at least $250 million. Some estimates push to $1 billion across related programs. So this for fake meals, luxury cars, and even funding tied to groups like Al-Shabaab. Okay, take a look. This was Tim Walz. He was on Face the Nation this weekend. This is clip 4.
Speaking of the Somali community, President Trump is targeting them and your state in part. He's citing fraud as the reason for his crackdown. Dozens of people of East African descent have been charged, convicted, and sentenced for stealing more than $1 billion in taxpayer money from government programs during COVID. As you know, Governor, that is more than Minnesota spends each year to run its Department of Corrections. So I want to give you a chance to respond to this. Do you take responsibility for failing to stop this fraud in your state?
Well, certainly I take responsibility for putting people in jail. Governors don't get to just talk theoretically. We have to solve problems. And I will note, it's not just Somalis. Minnesota is a generous state. Minnesota is a prosperous state, a well-run state. We're AAA bond rated, but that attracts criminals. Those people are going to jail. We're doing everything we can. But to demonize an entire community on the actions of a few, it's lazy. And as you heard Senator Kelly say, this president has cut a lot of inspector generals. He's cut programs that could help us tackle this on. So we'll take it on. We'll put folks in jail. I don't care what your nationality is. I don't care what your religion is, your color. If you're committing crimes, these are programs that were meant to serve students with autism, to housing, and to making sure people had enough to eat. There's a reason Minnesota ranks as the top, lowest childhood poverty, best place for children to live. People are taking advantage of that. They're going to prison. That is totally disconnected with demonizing an entire group of people who came here fleeing civil war and created a vibrant community that makes Minnesota and this country better. But that's Donald Trump. Deflect, demonize, come up with no solutions. He's not going to help fix anything on fraud. My God, there's a big difference between fraud and corruption is something he knows about.
Well, Governor.
Okay, so Nicole, talk about deflection. He runs to, I will note it's not just Somalis.
Listen, KJ, this is what we call a pivot gone awry. He pivoted so much, he just kind of pirouetted around the question that he was asked. And he often does that. It's his own version of the word salad, right? It's a little bit more, coherent than your typical word salad, but he still did not answer the question. And the smart reporter would have asked him, "Sir, that's very interesting. Will you now answer my question?" That should have been her follow-up. But of course, we know she's not going to pump him for an answer. Tim Walz is full of shit. We knew that when he was running for vice president. We knew it when he stood there and lied and said that he was in China when he was not in China. You know, all the things that Tim Walz has done. He's taken his eyes off the prize for his own state. This is not one or two people committing fraud. This is a systemic kind of fraud. And as much as Democrats like to use that word systemic, here's their opportunity. This is systemic fraud. And he turned a blind eye. And when people complained to him and when people said, here's the fraud, we've laid it out for you, they were intimidated, threatened, and all the things that you're not supposed to do to whistleblowers. So this is something that the president should look into. This is something that the DOJ should look into. And the president has the right to say that these people can't stay. You can't defraud us and stay. You can't rob us and stay. You may not. You may not. I will be so happy when this man goes into the trash can of history. The quicker he gets into the trash can of history, you know, there are just some people who have done irreparable harm to this nation, and he is one of them. Absolutely shameful.
Yeah. I mean, Shelley, you heard what he said. I mean, this is another incident caused by the COVID scamdemic. You've been talking about this for quite some time. These nonprofits, these programs, these things that the government have put money in, throw all this money into, and it's frauded.
Is absolutely ripe for fraud. And as we can see, the fraud doesn't seem to stop at all. All they want to do, they get this money, they create, again, the government creates all of these programs, NGOs funnels the money down, and voila, there's somehow a need that's created to meet those funds, right? But the funds really don't get to where they're supposed to go to, number one. Number two, the programs are largely on fraudulent creations. And then number three, they're mostly top heavy, meaning that the administrators, so-called, and the directors, they're the ones who get about 70, 80, even 90% of the funds that they can then launder however they want to. These programs use taxpayer money. Any program, I don't care if you're a nonprofit, if you use taxpayer subsidies, then technically you owe an accounting to the public. If you don't want to do that, don't take public money at all. At all. No tax subsidies, nothing. Just like churches, but that's a different story. Then don't take the money. These are taxpayer monies. Tim Walz and his ilk, they all need to be in jail. They need to give the money back. And then not only that, last thing, this is the most insidious part, I think, maybe. The people who actually need whatever these programs are offering, they almost always, if not always, they wind up worse than they started. They wind up on the negative, if you will, the negative end, below the negative, if there's such a thing. They wind up worse off while these jokers they keep going. They go to the next program, the next taxpayer pot of money. This is why I say smaller government. All of these ABC institutions, bureaus, but they need to be shut down too. Give us our money back.
Yeah, Tyrone, and the federal heat is coming, okay? The U.S. Treasury and House Republicans just launched investigations into Walz's handling of $1 billion in food aid fraud. So what do you think is going to come of this, if anything, and do you think this is the right move?
Well, our government every day proves more and more that it is a continuing criminal enterprise by and large. I mean, you've got U.S. senators who are crying about the due process of dope peddlers, right, and suggesting that, they called it the war on drugs for decades, right? Now, when you start blowing shit up, it's a problem, all right? I think that the DOJ needs to open an investigation into the death of Melissa Hortman. She was a House member up in Minnesota. Mm-hmm. And she was assassinated by John Voltaire. This happened back in June. Mm-hmm. Her assassination came shortly after she proposed a bill that would have required citizenship documentation and requirements for you to receive Medicaid in that state. Okay. So it's looking more and more like her agenda would have blown the lid off of what we now know is true. How much did Tim Walz profit from this? Wow. Some people really need to go to prison. And remember, Voltaire said that he received orders from Walz to assassinate, what's her name up there? She's the senator. He's the U.S. senator from Minnesota. Was it Klobuchar?
Yeah.
Oh.
So if people are going to say, oh, he was just talking out of his head. Was he? Yeah. That needs to be investigated, because was this woman assassinated on the orders of a sitting governor, like the assassin alleges was the intent for the U.S. senator? Did this happen because she was getting in the way of a lot of money?
Yeah. Great points here. And Nicole, my question is, I haven't heard the messaging from Republicans how Tim Walz and these Somalis were defrauding poor people. They're taking money from them, and these people are the very same people that are more likely than not, they vote Democrat. So where's the messaging there? Because that's what I think needs to really get out, because here you saw him on Meet the Press. His biggest issue is don't demonize Somalis, not you got a huge fraud issue in your state that is taking money and food from poor people that need it.
Well, listen, there are a lot of things happening very quickly. I can honestly say that I am duly impressed with what the GOP is currently doing and what they're going to be doing for the next 3 weeks. They have 3 more weeks in session before the end of the holiday season, beginning of holiday season. They're gearing up for a fight, and this fight is over American healthcare. And this is going to be a fight. It's not going to be nice. It's not going to be pleasant. It's going to be literally taking candy from babies. So gearing up for that and gearing up for the midterms. This thing with Tim Walz and this Somali fraud, the DOJ is going to take care of. It is easily proven. We're starting to see some of the whistleblowers leak information on X of all platforms. They've got phone logs. They've got emails they sent that went unreturned, threats, some veiled and some not, that happened. So this story is unfolding. It doesn't need any help. It's unwrapping itself. But these next 3 weeks and maybe the first 2 weeks of session when they're back in January are going to be very interesting, because, again, remember, they did not resolve the issue. They have a continuing resolution. So at the end of January, it's a very good likelihood that we will shut the government down again, because they cannot come to an agreement. Now, they've kicked the same can for about 8 years. And this is what happens when you procrastinate. Things come home to roost. Now they're up against the wall. They have to make some decisions. $600,000 a year and you're getting Obamacare subsidies, there's a problem. But here's what I know about people who make $600,000 a year getting Obamacare subsidies. They're not giving it back without a fight. They're not. So we've got a lot of things going on, a lot of things brewing. So there's some very interesting ideas being kicked around on Capitol Hill that I'm interested to see come to fruition. As a healthcare executive, especially price transparency. My practice is, we got our prices on the wall. Ain't no second guessing us. There's no surprises. We talk to you, you sign off on it. We have a good agreement. Some practices do not run that way, as we all know. You get a surprise bill and they'll say, oh no, we told you it was going to cost you $700, whatever. So there are a lot of things coming that they're working on, are much more important than unwrapping Tim Walz. His own people are going to take Caesar down, and I cannot wait for it. It's going to be juicy.
Well, we have Kung Fu CJ, we have another super chatter here. Kung Fu CJ, again, thank you for your $2 super chat, and thank you for being a member of our Freedom Seekers Club. He says, shh, Tyrone, shh, you talking too much. Tyrone.
Something happens in Tyronistan. We know what happened, right?
That's right. Everybody hit that like, share, and subscribe buttons. Get those numbers up. Get those thumbs up on that on your tabs, on your screens.
KJ, let me point out some breaking news on this subject you just brought up. this Democrat judge up in Minnesota who overturned the $7 million Medicaid fraud. Okay, the jury came back with the guilty, and the judge took it upon herself to acquit. Okay.
What?
All right. And this is in Minnesota. I'm telling you, this thing is deep, and they're all tied into it. That's unprecedented. Okay.
Right.
It's
So the
deep.
jury found him guilty.
Correct.
And then the judge came back and overturned it.
Yep.
All right. Well, we will continue to follow this story. It's crazy. It really is. So I guess we may be, well, as we continue to point out this stuff that's going on in Minnesota under the leadership of Tim Walz, The View is taking issue with President Trump for calling Tim Walz's brain function out. Take a look here. This is clip 2.
Well, so here's what's interesting, because if you're upset about fraud, in 2018, a judge ruled that who had to pay $25 million due to his fraudulent university. In February 2024, a New York judge found him, his sons, and his organization liable for fraud. Then 3 months later, he was found guilty on 34 counts of fraud in relation to his paying off of Stormy Daniels. And just this weekend, he commuted the sentence of David Gentile, a private equity exec who was convicted on defrauding thousands of investors in a $1.6 billion scheme. Now, look, if fraud is wrong, you got to catch up with everybody. This is, Tim Walz said, I put these people in jail.
Yeah.
It wasn't like we sat around and didn't do anything. And the horrific part is, why is he painting all Somali Americans with this paintbrush?
Wow. All right. Let's get into this, because she made a lot of claims and accusations. Shelly, what are your thoughts on this?
I say, don't just paint them with the paintbrush, throw the damn bucket of paint all on them. Okay. All of them. Fraud. If it's fraud, it's fraud. Again, I'm just tired of Americans being taken advantage of and then screwed in our asses. And then they tell us we got to wipe ourselves. I mean, it's just sick that I'm sick of that. I'm sick. Shut up, Tyrone. I'm sick of it. I can't finish that. Go ahead.
Nicole, what do you think of what they just said? Of course, they pivot to President Trump and the cases that he's had over the years. What are your thoughts?
If they were honest, they would say, yes, Tim Walz has done the wrong thing. They don't like the president's language. Some people call it the R word. Him calling them retarded is just what it is. The View has a particular purview, and it preaches to a certain group of choir members. And no matter what they say, they could come in and say the sky is deep green today. It's a blue sky, but they're just going to, it's almost impossible to look into Sunny Hostin's face when they're talking about fraud without her slinking under the table. Wasn't it her own husband who had to write a bunch of checks to get his butt out of hot water? Fraud, waste, and abuse is big in healthcare, absolutely huge in healthcare. We train our staffs every year like a religion on fraud, waste, and abuse. Mostly because one of the government agencies that does do a little bit of work, CMS, breathes on our neck like nobody's business about calling out fraud, waste, and abuse in our industry. Unfortunately, politics is not that industry. Fraud, waste, and abuse runs rampant, and it wasn't just USAID. I think both sides of the aisle got some answering to do about people getting rich coming to Congress. But this particular situation, Tim Walz did not lock them up. That's where she's not telling the truth. He did not lock them up. He ignored the problem. He brushed it under the rug, and now there's a big hump of dirt under the rug, and people are saying they're under there, and he's going, there's nothing to see here, folks. A good American would have called that out and said, that's our tax money, not just Minnesotans' money. That's our tax money and it should be fixed. They're not going to do that. They're going to pander to their crowd and say, oh, Donald Trump is a mean guy and they went after his family and all this other foolishness instead of standing up for everybody.
I 100% agree with you, Nicole. First of all, Trump's cases, agree or disagree, were about personal business issues. Personal business issues. This stuff with Walz, it involves government money, taxpayer dollars. You're talking about children, public assistance programs versus some nasty whore porn star. Okay, that's a big difference. But these people are so disingenuous. They are so disingenuous. And she lied. She bold-faced lied there, like you mentioned, because he did not. You got whistleblowers on both sides of the aisle calling him out on his own Democrat side that he did not lock these people up. But every time we turn around, they got to deflect. They got to go back to Trump. Several years they talking about this stuff. It makes me sick. It really does. Tyrone, what do you think? Thoughts on that exchange?
Oh, well, we did a live stream yesterday where we talked about the church committee hearings back in the 70s and how the CIA and the intelligence agencies have been deeply embedded in mass media in order to manipulate the views of the populace. And that's really all the view is. I mean, they're not alone, they're not alone, but that's what they are. They have put up a collection of useful idiots. These women don't know anything about anything. Okay. Whoopi Goldberg is, I always say America's such a great place because you can have a person call themselves a comedian and they're not funny. Okay. That's Whoopi. You got the other one's always talking about how she used to be an attorney, and there's a reason why you're not an attorney now. Why didn't you try some of that legal expertise on your husband to prevent him from going out there and defrauding the Medicare system? So, useful idiots. You heard how the audience applauded when the subject was for a type of fraud that's taking money out of their pockets.
Yeah. They're idiots. But this is what we're talking about. And folks, this is why we say you have to please hit that like button as you come in and share this broadcast, because they will get, like, The View is a large conglomerate. They got ABC behind them, and they're going to get the views. They're going to get the shares. They got big money behind them, MSNBC behind them, all the leftists behind them. But we got to get the word out, because the difference here, as I said before, the Walz scandal has victims, folks. Many of this witch hunt that they tried to go after with President Trump didn't even have a victim. It was victimless crimes that they tried to accuse him of. It was all political. What we're talking about here, children lost services, families lost benefits, fraudsters got rich. Okay, they need to go to jail. That's what they need to do. Trump's cases was political lawfare, as we saw, and that's one of the reasons why he was put into office, because everybody saw that. There were no taxpayers harmed, no government was robbed, okay? And this is what we're talking about. But these people try to twist, they try to deflect, they try to pivot and lie. That's what they're doing. So please share, and subscribe. All right. Let me see here. I believe do we have a super chat? We really appreciate your super chats, folks. They go a long way in helping us stay online, put out this conservative content, and we appreciate the support. All right, want to go to a happier note here. I saw Kung Fu CJ said he was getting PTSD, so we want to stop that right now. In the name of Jesus, we bind it in the name of Jesus. Okay, and we're gonna move to a lighter note. So even CNN admits gas is lower than it has been in the last 4 years. It's at its lowest. So take a look here. This is clip 3.
This morning, some states seeing gas prices below $3 for the first time in years. Let's get to CNN's Matt Egan for the good news on this.
Yeah, absolutely. It's nice to finally be here with some good news on the cost of living front. So for the first time in 4.5 years, gas prices are averaging $3 a gallon nationally, according to AAA, down by 7 cents in just the past week. Gas prices were low a year ago as well, but they're even cheaper now. This is encouraging to see because late last month there was a period where gas prices were actually higher this year than last year, but that has reversed again, and now we've just fractions of a penny away from breaking below $3 a gallon. Now, as you mentioned, we've got 20 states across the country where the average is actually less than $2.75 a gallon, including North Carolina, South Carolina, Texas, Iowa, Wisconsin, and Colorado as well. Certainly nice to see this. Why is this happening? Well, it all comes down, of course, to oil prices, right? Oil prices are about $59 a barrel this morning. If you look back in history, on December 1, 3 years ago, we're looking at $81 a barrel for oil, $67 even last year. So significantly cheaper. And that's because right now, supply of oil continues to outpace demand. It's U.S. supply. Production in the U.S. is at all-time highs. It's higher than last year, but only a little bit higher. OPEC is the big story, though, right? Saudi-led OPEC, they are ramping up production substantially this year. They've signaled that they plan to pause those output hikes next year. But for now, look, this is a good story when it comes to the affordability crisis. Gasoline, it's relatively cheap.
All right. Well, good news for now, Matt Egan. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
For that.
Wow. All right. So you heard him, Nicole. He said we're producing, Saudi Arabia is producing. And so this has helped to lower the price of gas, lower than it has been in the last 4 years.
Absolutely. Listen, I love that he finally got those words to sputter out of his mouth. But did you hear the qualifiers he kept saying? For now, next year, things are going to be terrible again. For now. It just kills them to have any joy in their life. You know, here in Maryland, where our gas tax is tied to the CPI, having gas under $3 is damn near a state holiday. There should be people dancing barefoot in the bay, enjoying life this weekend because we got a few little extra pennies to buy some gas that's not going to cost us almost $4 a gallon. I am very excited. As someone who drives 1 million miles, seemingly 1 million miles a month, I am very excited about lower gas prices. I was able to fill up my hybrid today for $20.
Whoa!
American. Yeah. Come on, Trump. Keep producing that oil. This is the reason why I vote for him. He's got his eye out on the prize for me.
Well, I want to get your thoughts on this, Tyrone. Do we give credit to President Trump and his agenda? And also, as Nicole mentioned, you saw what they were trying to push those qualifiers. It's low for now. So do you believe that that is true? It's low for now. It's going to increase. What are your thoughts?
I think if we keep producing here, the price will remain relatively low. Oil is a global market. Okay. So a lot of people say, well, we're drilling here, but it's not going here. It doesn't matter. It's going into the world's oil supply, which OPEC reacts to, the South American countries all react to. The more oil, like gold, it's a global market. The more on the market, the lower the price will be. So actually, the Saudis and OPEC are giving America some time to ramp up production here and contribute to the global oil supply. And it looks like what they're saying is, if you guys are able to do that, then we can cut back on our supply. But if it remains the same in terms of output globally, then as long as demand doesn't go up, we should still be able to see these types of prices. Now, the other thing is the diesel price is still up around $3.80, but it is down. And that's the key, okay? Because when you take oil, That's the pre-refined product. And then you refine it diesel, gasoline, all kinds of other things. But that diesel price is what powers trains, tractor trailers, and that's what brings the goods and service, the goods, whether they be agricultural goods, meat and poultry, stuff you buy at Walmart, that transports those things. So to the extent that those diesel prices continue to fall, we may see a decrease in products on the shelves, and that would be perfect.
Wow. Yeah, folks. And as many of you already know, you can catch Tyrone with all this type of information on Soldiers of Finance right here on YouTube. Definitely go over there after this broadcast and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Wonderful channel with all types of knowledge on issues like this and more. So absolutely. Shelly, what do you think do you think voters recognize that gas prices are really low right now? And are they giving President Trump credit?
Absolutely, voters recognize again what's in their pocket. My car has told me today, slide some oil to me. So I had to fill up. It took a little bit more than $20, Nicole, because I was just about on zero. So, but anyway, I did notice that the regular price was like $2 something. That's here in Maryland. So so great, yeah, absolutely. But look, Americans are not dumb. Okay, I know the media likes to kind of cast us that way, and certainly they like to call the flower country. They like to make them look like they're just idiots. But Americans are not dumb. Americans know what's in their pocket. They know what they can afford. They know when prices go up and when they go down. Oil is certainly one of those things. So Americans are not dumb. Yes, we know that the prices are going low. As far as giving President Trump credit, 50. Some people may or may not just attribute every low cost to the president, for good or for bad, whatever the case may be. But when it comes time to vote, if those prices and costs are still affordable, then President Trump or the president in office has a very good chance of being reelected.
Yeah, well, I remember under Biden, when gas was extraordinarily high, and the line on the Democrats were, "This is Putin." It was because of Putin. It was the Putin war. Remember?
Remember. But we also remember, if I'm not mistaken, Tyrone, correct me. Under Trump's first presidency, when he left office, we had a surplus in the storage. The oil storage, we had surplus that was used. I forget what do they call it? The backup, strategic reserves. Yes, and Biden tapped into those several times to sort of manipulate the voting populace, if you will. So
that's a very good point. Instead of drilling, he tapped into that to put more supply out on the market.
Yep.
Right.
We have a super chatter here. Before we go on, Chase Gray Feather 4833. Thank you for your $10 super chat, Chase. Says, just for you women being yourselves and getting the truth out. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chase.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And again, as you all come in, hit that like button. It helps to get this video out in front of a wider audience, and subscribe. We are growing a community here of value-driven people, God-fearing, truth-seeking, America-loving people that value freedom. So join us, hit that like button, and subscribe. All right. Moving right along here, folks. Want to change gears a little bit here and talk about the what's going on with, believe it or not, door dashers. So and we have a clip here to show you with something that's going on, but we're going to actually talk about this in a larger frame, because this has implications that I don't think many people have really talked about. Take a look at this door dasher. This is clip 7. All right. So if you missed what he did, he dropped the food on the ground, licked his fingers, and then put it back in the box. Now, thank God the person who lives there saw it on the door cam and of course on the video cam, and I assume they didn't eat it. But this is what's going on, and it's going on more often than we realize. Okay. Every time I drive through the city, Baltimore City, there are DoorDash, Uber Eats, Grubhub drivers all over the place. It was weird because everybody's on a moped now and they're delivering food constantly. Bags of fast food being dropped off nonstop. And here's the thing. This explosion of delivery services tells us something deeper about the state of American life right now. Families are cooking less. Kids rarely sit at a dinner table. And DoorDash drivers, many of whom are foreign nationals, come on now, we're going to tell the truth, are basically feeding America now. And nobody's asking why. Want to get your thoughts on this, Shelley, first, of what we just saw before we really dig in.
Well, as I've said before, I'll say it again. I told y'all ain't nobody starving in the USA. Okay. So that's your answer to families and families being able to afford these services or whatever the case may be. But you're right. It does tend to or pretend to say, well, nobody's cooking at home, families are not having meals together, and we have these service workers working for however much they get paid. I will admit I have never used DoorDash or whatever other service, never. Now I have ordered online, but I typically will go and pick up my food if I've done so. But this does say, it actually says how wealthy we are as a nation. Okay, how much excess, if you will, or discretionary income we actually do have. Ain't nobody starving in the United States of America. I want to ask, can we see that video again? Because I know people were saying that he licked his fingers. Again, he licked his fingers, I thought, after the food dropped, after he picked it up, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought people were saying that he licked his fingers and then touched the food. That's what I thought at first. Okay. But before you go on, KJ, we do have another super chat. We want to mention to Brown Eyes. Thank you, Brown Eyes. Don't make Brown Eyes blue.
Thank you.
Wow. Thank you.
Chat. She says, great team, the GOAT. Thank you.
Love it. Thank you, Brown Eyes.
Blue tonight. Thank you, Brown Eyes.
Thank you. Yes. He licked his fingers because whatever he touched in the food had sauce or something on it. Mm-hmm. So instead of him wiping his fingers with a napkin or whatever, he had to first pick it up off the ground. He got the sauce on his hands and then he licked his fingers. Nicole, what are your thoughts on that?
So I have a unique perspective as a former DoorDasher. So some restaurants kind of put labels on the food that make sure that it doesn't fall out if you drop the bag. Sometimes the bags are stapled. So I don't know where he's DoorDashing and where he picked that up from, but that's generally not how it's done. Some areas, especially more urban areas, you do see the people on mopeds going around and that kind of thing. But in rural areas and areas that are less populated, you see very few of those. And you see people like me, moms who need a little extra money, dads who are trying to put the two ends together to make it meet, or somebody who's saving up for a cruise like I'm taking in January. This is the way that you can afford some of the things that you couldn't squeeze out of your budget ordinarily. But like in every other industry, there are people who are absolutely gross. I mean, beside themselves gross. Now, he may not think what he did was gross because he probably does that at his house. 5 second rule, you drop it on the ground, pick it up, kiss it to God, and keep eating it. Some people roll like that. And then there are those of us who are saying, I would never do DoorDash. But let's not oversell the idea of simply because you order takeout doesn't mean that you're not sitting together as a family. Because now more moms are working, right? More dads are working hard. Everybody's trying to recover from COVID expenses because as much as we'd like to think it was very long ago financially, people are still recovering. People are still catching up. Then we had the government shutdown when all the federal employees were DoorDashing and Uber Eats and doing all of those things. People order food, sit down and have it as a family meal. It may be in front of the TV. It may be in front of a video game system, but they are sharing a meal. Are they cooking? No. And that's a problem. RFKJ is not going to like that. He's not going to like that at all. Americans are addicted to convenience. We always have been. We are a microwave society. We like things lickety split. Somebody order DoorDash. We're going to have Thanksgiving dinner because you can get a turkey from Popeyes for $39.99 with some sides and trimmings. You never have to turn your stove on. So again, I think it's more of us being addicted to having convenience, things quick, fast, and in a hurry. And the less work we have to do after working hard all day, the better. It's not necessarily a bad thing.
Nicole, I got to disagree with you there. I mean, I know multiple families with teenagers. One, most teenagers have their own accounts. Mm-hmm. They're ordering DoorDash sometimes outside of dinner if the mom or dad cooking are cooking. So, and they're generally ordering the DoorDash, grabbing it, taking it up to their rooms while they're on their phones, and they're eating. This is not, I believe this is a window into the collapse of family rhythms. Okay. Personal discipline. I actually got scolded by my mother-in-law recently. She came here. She's from the Caribbean. She's very old school. And, you know, I'm working doing these podcasts. My husband's working. My son's, you know, involved in all types of stuff. And sometimes we don't eat together. We don't eat together a lot during the week, at least. Now we eat together on the weekends. And she was livid. What type of home are you running here? You don't eat together. You know, that's what she said. She said. And so when she was here, she would lay out everybody's plates and we come down and she forced us to eat together. Now we don't DoorDash, but you know, I would cook or she would cook and then everybody would just get what they wanted when they had time to eat. So I really think it is a result of the culture that we're living in now. But what are your thoughts, Tyrone?
Well, I mean, you know, it's convenience. Me personally, and this is something that we actually do every day on the Soldiers of Finance live streams. At the end, we kind of talk about what I'm going to cook for the evening. My grandfather was a steward in the U.S. Navy stationed aboard the USS Cabana. It was a destroyer escort in the Pacific, saw a lot of action during World War II. My grandfather was such a good cook that the captain of that vessel ordered him to be his cook. Wow. He cooked the captain's food. And my grandfather taught us how to cook, my grandfather and my mother. And so I absolutely love to cook. Okay. I don't go out to eat often at all. And when I do, it's usually like something business related. I really don't like to go out to eat. I know how to cook. I have several cookbooks. I used to cook meals when I was a firefighter. You ask them about my cube steak, gravy, and onions. Okay. So the DoorDashers, God bless them. You know, it's a form of commerce. I have no problem with it. But I will say this. This is another thing I learned about restaurants, right? If I go in there and order a steak and chicken shows up on the plate, it's not going back. I'm going to eat it. Okay. I do not send anything back. I don't complain about dishwasher spots on my wife. We go out, they got dishwasher spots. I said, we got dishwasher spots on the knives. Chill out. Okay. Don't mess me up with these people. Okay. So.
Well, let me say this, KJ, talking about helpers. Now, I do understand when Nicole is saying helpers. I get that. Let me tell you what Tony Evans said a long time ago, one of his sermons, talking about helpers and in the home cooking. He said, how many of y'all got helpers in your kitchen? So I guess I didn't see it was on the radio. So I guess the audience, mostly women, they must not have raised their hands. He said, y'all lying, because if you have Maytag and Sears and GE, you got dishwashers and refrigerators. Those are called kitchen helpers. Those are modern versions of kitchen helpers. So don't think that you don't have a helper or that you're the only one cooking the meal. So I thought that was pretty funny. So to Nicole's point, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, I am all for, you know, DoorDashing, you know, Ubering, all of it. But, and I think we had talked about this during the scamdemic, how people who were using DoorDash as, you know, a part-time job were unable to find work because so many, they were given these jobs to to illegals, particularly in the cities. As soon as they come in, they give them a phone, and a lot of them were going out taking jobs from hardworking Americans, door dashing, Ubering, and all kinds of things. And just to go back to the collapse of the family, I mean, again, for most of American history, dinner was a sacred family institution. But now stat after stat shows that regular family meals have lower depression, lower drug use, and reduce risky behavior. And so we're seeing an increase in those things. And, I don't know if it's as simplistic as this, but it has come in correlation with the lack of families getting together at mealtime. They barely eat together anymore. Everyone eats separately at different times in different rooms. And definitely DoorDash isn't helping, I would say. I don't know if it's destroying it, but it certainly isn't helping. So you guys sound off in the chat and let us know what you think. Do you believe it's more of a help, for people who just don't have time to cook as often anymore? Or do you think that, we do need to lay off the DoorDash a little bit? Sound off in the chat and let us know what you think. All right. So getting back to this, another viral video out this week was quite unnerving, folks. So not sure if you've been following this story, but it was the story of a barber in Miami who did not like his haircut, and things took a terrible turn. Take a look at this. This is clip 6.
I'm saying it's a little more forward. I don't see what you looking at when you say forward. You talk, because I see an angle is going right here, and that corner for corner is right here. You talking about right here? Right there, yeah, right there. You talking about right there? Yeah. That's the little angle. That's because I know right here in the front, that's corner to corner. Now once start right there, go around. Just don't take no walk here, don't take no walk here. Just go around. What's more? This side was already hot. I couldn't move. When I came here, it was already hot. What I did was match that side to this side. I'm gonna repeat this again. No, this is first, bro. I'm gonna repeat it. No problem. When you first told me, and I looked in the mirror, and you told me, "Oh, bro, this side is up the high." I said, "Bro, the shit was already pushed back from the start." I matched this side to this side. I remember when you first started doing. I saw it in the mirror. When you first started doing. I'm even upset, man. You good, bro? Bro. You upset? I got upset, but I don't push back to you. I don't fuck up haircuts, bro. But no problem, bro. No problem, bro. That's great, bro. Your shit was already tilted when you came in, bro. Right. It was tilted and pushed back to two things, bro. No problem, bro. I don't put, bro. No problem, bro. You see that shit fresh right now, man. Bro. It's not a problem. We good, Pimpin'. The shit is seeding already, bro. I understand that. Yeah, I don't push back, bro. All I was just trying to fix what I already seen. Bro, chill out. You tripping right now. I'm tripping. Yeah, you tripping. I'm tripping. Just chill out, bro. Just chill out. I'm tripping. You don't see my shit right there, my nigga. Bro, your shit was up, bro. Guess what, bro? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Bro, I know, bro. Bro, hold on, what you mean? How you tripping? What you talking about, bro? But why you, bro? I'm like, bro, guess what? Because you your shit was up. My shit, my nigga. No, bro, I'm doing you. Bro, guess what, bro? Excuse me, bro. Excuse me, bro. Bro, don't worry about it, bro. You go super, bro. You was already, your shit was already put, bro. Don't worry about it, bro. Don't worry about it, bro. But, bro, you finna get attitude about my shit, bro. You tripping, man. What you mean, bro? You get attitude about my shit, man. Bro, you wanna beat me getting mad? Yeah, cause this my shit is my hell, man. Bro, Bro, you have a good day. And you have a good day, bro. Bro, you tripping. Bro, you finna be me getting mad about my shit, bro. You finna be mad because you get me mad about my health. What you going on for, my nigga? You took no chain on, feeling like you ready to pay. You like you going about my shit. Bro, I told you have a good day. This shit was already leaving, nigga. It's whatever you want to do. You take your shit off, nigga, ready. Nigga, what the fuck? I don't wait. I'm supposed to be ready to go. I told you to go out to have a good day. Nigga, you want to come in, nigga, as soon as you want, let's go. Niggas on the pop. You're supposed to be scared, nigga. Your motherfucking chain on, nigga, like you want to do something, nigga. Okay, let's go. Hey, bro. You finna do me about what fucking hell? Come on, nigga. Come on, nigga. You gotta push your shit back, nigga. I'm gonna leave my shit. We're gonna shoot you more. Get out. I'll push your shit back. Nigga, you gotta push your shit back, nigga. You gotta push your shit back, nigga. Hey, I'm gonna kiss you. Yo, you gonna push the wrong nigga. I catch my license, pussy ass nigga. About my motherfucker. I'll pussy whoop your pussy ass in here, nigga. About my head, nigga. You pulling up about my shit, nigga. You lucky you don't want to kiss a lot of sinners again, nigga. Sit your pussy ass down. Sit your pussy. Hey, pussy in here, man. Yo. So, push your pussy ass. Kids in here, man. You look like you lucky. Hey. Nigga, you lucky they got some straight. It's kids in here, bro. I'll kill your pussy ass. What, nigga? I'll kill your pussy ass, nigga. Kids in here, man. Nigga, I didn't even think, nigga, I'd come in here and kill your bitch ass. I didn't even think somebody come kill your bitch ass. You lucky I don't want to go back to prison, nigga. You lucky I don't want to go back to prison, nigga. You lucky as fuck. Nigga, you lucky I don't want to get that license again, nigga.
Wow. All right. So let's dig into this. There were two parts on that video that really just made me sad. Was the first one, if you saw the little boy, he covered his ears because he was getting frightened. And then the second one was when one boy was in the barber chair and the older one came and tried to protect him as they started to get so rowdy. What's wrong with people, Shelly? All over a haircut.
Well, to be honest, he effed his head up.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
I'm not saying it was not worth, nowhere near was it worth all that. But when he saw his head, I said, well, was it receding already?
Well, that's what he said. He said that it was one side it was already receding. So I don't know.
I'm sorry. He messed his head up. But it was nowhere. No, look, unfortunately, we see every day on social media, we see a lot of women fighting. And I have to say it, they mostly black women. Again, I don't know if that's just social media putting that out, people uploading those videos only, but we do see a lot of that. Unfortunately, a lot of men are emotional these days as well. I mean, they really are. Now, if he had just clocked him, I would have said that was too much too, but I could understand that better than going to your vehicle, getting a gun. You have two young kids there, innocent man. I'm glad those little boys, as soon as the guy said go outside, that they haul tail, right? But all over a haircut, your head was already receding. Okay, he didn't have much line to delineate. So I mean, what was he supposed to do? But he did. F up his hairline, though. His little fade. I don't know what that was. That was like, what them Romans used to wear, those crowns, those hats, those helmets that sit kind of like square on your head. That's what it looked like.
Tyrone, now you are the only male on this panel. What are your thoughts over? I mean, is a haircut worth you killing someone?
Not hardly, not hardly. Shelly is right. He did hook him up with a half row, but is not. I mean, here's the solution to that. All right, and this guy was fortunate because he does have the kind of shaped head where you can cut his hair bald, and he'll be fine. Okay, that's the solution to it. And I mean, we just watched a grown man being driven. Samson didn't get that upset when Delilah cut his hair. Okay. You know, so we just watched a grown man freak out over a haircut. Over, like, think about the vanity that's involved there, right? Dude, just all right, I don't like this. Go ahead and cut it bald. I'll try again next month, you know. And express your dissatisfaction, don't give him a tip, and never come back.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah. Nicole, what are your thoughts?
I have a couple of points. Number one, and this is just, really good advice to men going to barbershops. Again, I have 19 nephews. If you walk into the barbershop and the barber wears reading glasses and he has to flick them up and down, baby, your C cups is going to be tore up. I'm just going to listen. I'm telling you, if he can't see, this is not the man you want lining your edges up. You're not going to be crispy. Now, I don't know what kind of head this guy had when he came in there, but needless to say, they do that spray on hair for men now. He just sprayed that back in. Would have lasted him a couple weeks. He could have went to another barber. But I did not like to see the level of aggression from either one of these males, right? So if you're a business owner and someone is displeased with your business, you want to correct it to the best of your ability. And if they're all out of control and whatnot, you say, listen, I'm sorry. I did my best. This one's on me. If you want to come back and try us later, happy to give you a free one. But, I have to press on with my day again. I'm very sorry. Give him his money back and let him spout off in the parking lot, right? Because you have two very small children and another customer in there. My third point was that poor little boy who was up next in that chair, when he grabbed that little seat, the little bumper seat, and threw that booster in the seat like he was going to cut my kid's head. No, you ain't. Because I saw what you did when you were calm to that last dude. There is no way you get anywhere near my child with anything sharp. There's no way. All of that said, this smacks of emotionalism that traditionally we don't see in men. And this is something that has been running rampant in our particular culture for a very long time. And we're starting to see it in other cultures where people are saying, if things don't work out absolutely perfectly for me, I'm going to lash out with the aggression. It's going to cost you your life. So it's either all or nothing. Now, I get it. As someone who's had plenty of bad haircuts, ladies know you get a bad haircut, you hate them. You call them all kind of dirty names in the parking lot. But that's wrong. I don't know. Okay, reason you too quick with it, but when people do you wrong, you have every right to be angry, but that anger has to be tempered with societal norms. It is abnormal to leave the building, to go out, find your pistol, come back in with small children and another person there, and threaten this man and put the gun in his face and call him dirty names. Having a gun, unfortunately, for some males, gives them this false sense of virility, right? It makes them bigger, stronger, tougher. And he's talking about he doesn't want to go back to prison.
Yeah, you going?
He's like this.
He's going.
You planning that fucked up haircut going back to the jail. Now, for as far as the jail haircut, that might be perfectly legitimate. It might be a good jail haircut. You never know. But yeah, you and your pretty self are going back to jail if this is the best behavior you can display.
No, he's going back. If he's a convicted felon, he's going back for that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, because this is viral. Everybody's seen this.
He may not have
a gun if he's a convicted felon.
He may not be licensed to carry.
Exactly. He's already a convicted felon.
I don't know what state this is in, but as a felon, okay. production's doing too much.
I don't know what that
Production is run amok. But it is disheartening to see both of these men kind of lose their cool over something so trivial. You know, you gave me a bad haircut. Well, you know damn well you gave him a bad haircut because you can't see. You had to flip your glasses up and get up on it to see if it was right or wrong. That, you know, maybe this profession has passed you by, and maybe you should just be a barbershop owner, not an actual barber. It's something about the way they both escalated. So
yeah, they both escalated.
And it got to a point where it was untenable for the little tiny children that were there. And the little boy who covered up his ears was like, I'm not used to this kind of foolishness. I'm just not.
And it was another thing. You think about the experience those little boys were looking to have, you know, that just spoiled it for them. You know, the little one was really excited about being in the barbershop. You could just tell. And there goes that. So,
well, thank God he didn't let him cut his hair, because God only know what that was going to look like with him being fired up too.
I think what happened was, you know, he was already upset when he was in the barbershop, and then he goes to his car. He gets in the driver's seat and he looks in that rear view.
Yeah.
And he sees he's got that, you know, all the way back here. And he said, I can't go home like this.
Yeah.
I got to kill this man.
You can't go home. Not unless his wife's name is Wheezy. That's the only way he's going home with that. Yeah.
Yeah. It was insane. But Tyrone, I want to ask you, we're seeing, as you mentioned, Nicole, heightened levels of emotionalism. I don't know if that's word. Emotional people, emotional men and women in this generation. How do we stop it? What can we do to stop this? Because it's causing a huge problem. No even tempers, no reason. People are just doing crazy stuff. All right. We got another one here.
KJ, one piece of advice that I like to give, especially young men.
Oh, no.
Preface your actions with this. How does this look an hour from now? How does this look 1 hour from now? Now, if that guy had went to his car and thought about that, all right, how does this look? I'm planning on going back in there with a weapon that I'm not supposed to have. How's this going to look an hour from now? And I think if he'd have calmed down and thought that, he would have driven off. Okay, so that's what I like to tell people. When you get upset, I tell people with road rage, what does it matter? Give them the lane. Who cares? Okay? You'll never see each other again in life. What are you fighting over? Think about it. How does it look an hour from now? If an hour from now there are police cars present, don't do it.
And they don't even care that there were kids in there. He act like he did not care. Both of them.
He did.
The barber was going off after he left, cussing and getting all crazy and stuff. They don't care. They got little kids in the barbershop.
No, they don't. It's awful. I mean, yeah, they just don't. I mean, how do we get rid of it, or how do we stop it? I actually don't know. Seriously, I don't know. One thing is to stay out of certain areas in your city, your state. Stay out of certain areas. Don't go. And I know sometimes those areas probably have some of the best skilled people that can do those haircuts and things like that. But sometimes you just have to take, again, how does this look an hour from now? And the hour from now, am I going to be dead? I mean, I have to ask that question too. In an hour from now, am I going to be caught up in something, flying bullets? Maybe the police is going to come and do it. I don't know. But sometimes you just have to stay away. I wish your business well, but I'm not going to be one to patronize it. So, yeah. But we do have people who are patronizing us tonight. Thank you for your super chatters. We have Tijuana Border Jumper. Thank you. Where have you been with your $5 super chat? He says, good evening, ladies and sir. Nicole. Tijuana. And Jacqueline Jones. She thank you for your $5 super chat, Jacqueline. And she says, this video just broke my heart. My only brother was killed in a barbershop last year, this exact time, from Danville, Illinois, an innocent bystander. Wow. Sorry, Jacqueline. I'm sorry about that.
Yes.
It's hard for you.
So sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Do you know we had a case here in Southern Maryland of a young lady who did braids. You know, she did the very long braids like the young ladies wear here. So she is very accustomed to people getting their hair done and then not having the money. So what she does is she makes sure that, one, you have to book her and put a deposit down. And if you're under a certain age, your parents have to pay. So she's braiding this girl's hair, and the girl's like, oh, my mom said she's going to pay. So she has a text message from the mom that says, let me know and I'll pay it, right? So she's braiding this girl's hair. She gets done with the girl's hair. The mother sends the money. The little girl doesn't want to give her the money. She doesn't want to. The mother cash app the money to the daughter. The daughter did not cash app it to the lady. So she's trying to run out of the salon. She grabs her by the 3 feet of braids that she put in her hair and dragged her back into the salon and held her until somebody paid her her money, which was, of course, the mother said, I sent her the money. Why? What are you talking about? She's like, well, she won't give it to me. And da. So anyway, they go to court. And of course, the hairstylist is in trouble because this girl is a minor. And, you know, no matter how angry you get, you can't drag a patron by their hair and hold them hostage until you get your money. You just can't do those things. But it's getting to a point where some of the service related industries, you see it with nail techs, eyelashes, eyebrows, where people are so scammy nowadays. And it's not because of lack of resources. Clearly, this little girl's mother gave her the money for the hair, but she chose to keep it for herself. This sense of entitlement, this absolute neglect of the common greater good is something that we have as a culture we have to get by. You know, no man is an island. You never hear anybody say that anymore because we're now a bunch of little tiny islands. In my particular world, I don't pay for eyelashes. I'm gonna wait for you to do my eyes, and then I'm gonna say, well, this one lash ain't right, so I'm not ever paying you. And then we're gonna have a big fight about it. This young woman had a thriving business, and I think she still has a pretty good, you know, clientele going on, because most of the people who come to her for hair braiding said they kind of figured that this girl wasn't going to pay her from some of the stuff they overheard her saying when she was under the dryer and this kind of thing. We've got to stop teaching or allowing our children to think that this is okay. It's not okay. If somebody does a service, you need to pay them. Now, if he skips you like he skipped dude, and you know, you got one C cup back here and another one down here, you have every right to be incensed. Every right. But when the shop owner says, I'm good, I'm sorry, just here, take your cape off, go on about your business, I'm not going to charge you, blah, blah, blah. There has to be a point where you walk away. Right. Walk away from the anger, walk away from the feeling of disrespect. And unfortunately, if you're a man, you won't have to look at that haircut for a couple of weeks, or maybe you get one of those wigs that you can, put on or spray some hair on it. Or how about a hat? Just wear a hat for a couple of weeks and you'll be okay. But we cannot, introduce firearms and be dragging people by 3 feet of braids because we're feeling some kind of way. We're better than that.
Yeah. Folks, my husband picks on me all the time because I don't go everywhere anymore, particularly when dealing with the public. The public, particularly in like the city and urban areas and things, has gotten really crazy on both sides, as business owners and patrons and customer service and people who frequent these establishments. Mm-hmm. It's gone haywire. So I will drive a distance. If I've gone somewhere and I've gotten great service and maybe somebody else can provide that same service closer to me, I'll drive out to this person, to the other place, just to get good service. Okay. Because people are losing their minds. We almost getting to a point where we can't deal with the public. Because these people, and another thing I'll tell you, and you may say that this is not the way to go. I generally don't like to be around areas or go to places where it's people just ignorant and ghetto. Y'all can have it. I don't want to deal with it. So if I have to pay a little bit more money, even if it's the same service, I'll do it, because I don't have time. Because guess what? My patience is short. My patience is short as I've gotten older. My temperature, I have generally a good temperament, but you catch me on the wrong day and I don't have time. I don't have patience. I just want to get what I will pay you for your service, and that's it. But I don't want to deal with ignorant people. I really don't. And I don't know if it's a thing where it's in the urban areas, in the city environment that we have this going on. Because I honestly, I don't get that in the rural areas as much. In the city, y'all on another thing. I can't deal with it anymore. But I don't know how we're going to continue on this trajectory with people acting like this. How can we live together? How can we work together if people are acting like this?
I don't think that's the goal necessarily, to live and work together with it's just not. What do we call it? I've been hearing this word lately, discernment and making sure. I always say I discriminate. I have biases. I own them. I admit it. And there's some places I'm not going to go. Some places, if I'm there and I just don't have, I'm gone. I'm rolling out. That's why I drive myself a lot of times, because when I'm ready to go, I'm ready to go. I don't want you waiting on me, and I don't want to wait on you. So, and no hard feelings, because when I'm ready to go, I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
And humans give off energy, and it can be positive energy, it could be negative energy. And when you've got a lot of depressed people in one particular area, you can feel that. Okay. And so I don't blame you. You've got to go and surround yourself to the extent that you can in an environment that is conducive to your good mental health. And I firmly believe, like, a lot of what we read in the Bible has dual or even more meanings. Garden of Eden, for example, in addition to chronicling the fall of man, it also illustrates you can't recapture paradise, no matter how hard you try on this earth. Okay. Tower of Babel, I think that is a warning not to stack humans in high concentrations in a small geographic area. Okay. So I grew up in the city, but I need space because human energy is real. Okay. And it's infectious.
It is. I agree. So I am not a person. I am incredibly discriminating. Let's just put that out there. I am. I'm not one to stay in a place where the vibe is bad. I don't like obnoxious people, and I have a very bad temperament. I'm quick to admit it. I am. I have what they used to call a short fuse. I can only take so much, and it's about that much. That's about as much. And as I've grown older, of course, I'm much more graceful about it, because when people are obnoxious, I'm like, okay, where's my bag? I'm out of here. And then what happened to Nicole? Oh, she had to go. Right. But what I've learned from going to anger management a couple times is that sometimes it's not you. Sometimes it's the other people. But you have to be adult enough, mature enough to know when to walk away from a situation when you're getting the red flags. Perfect example. We go out to a lot of seafood restaurants. I love seafood. We found a seafood restaurant that all of us really enjoyed. It's in Virginia. So we get there, and the first couple of times we eat there, everything is perfect. The third time we go, they're a little bit busier. So the service is not quite what we're used to, but we're good. We're just going to drink our lemonade and mind our business. The waitress comes over and goes, "What do you want?" So I'm looking around for who the hell she's talking to, because clearly it's not me spending my hard-earned money. And so other people at the table say, "Well, I'm going to order this and I'm going to order that." She brings it back and she's slamming stuff on the table. Now, God gave me the first red flag when she said, "What do you want?" That's when I should have got my bag and left, right? Because she was making my eye twitch. By the time she started slamming down crab cakes on the table, I wasn't the only one. Everybody in my party was enraged. They were like, "What the hell?" And because this is not a cheap place, this is a very expensive place. Right. And she's like, "I'm having a bad day." And people are telling her, "Your bad day is not our problem. Your failure to plan to be busy is not an emergency for us." But what's is we're going to get up and walk away, and we're just going to leave because you're not going to earn any of our money. And that's what we did. And that's what I call personal growth. Now, we haven't been back since. People are saying, oh, they got rid of her. But here's my thing. If they hired her in the first place, it tells me that as a business, their mind is not where it needs to be. So we found somewhere else to go. That's the wise thing to do. That's what this guy with the jacked up haircut should have done. He should have just got his 2 C cups and went on about his life instead of landing back in jail where he didn't want to be in the first place.
Right. Wow. Well, we have some super chatters, Nicole. I'm sure they would not give us bad service. We have Chadwick. Thank you for your $5 super chat and for being one of our mods. He says, Nicole, that's true. You cannot hold her. Talking about the girl pulling the hair, I guess. What I would have done is remove the hair. Tijuana Border Jumpers back again. Thank you, Tijuana, for your $5 super chat and for being a member of our Freedom Seekers Club. He says, KJ is right. I have a house for a reason. Outings are out. Let me relax in my house with everything I need. Absolutely. And speaking of service, Nicole, good service, we need to give a shout out to the local in White Marsh.
Oh yeah.
Yes, KJ. Now we need to give a shout out. So I hope Jackie and Sydney are listening. We met them over, I think, whatever day it was, Friday real quick. But thank you for your support. They said they loved us. Nicole, Jackie asked for you. She said, well, who's the one from Southern Maryland that sits in the middle? So he said, Nicole, that's Nicole. So thank you, Jackie and Sydney at the local. The food was great and the service was great as well.
Yes, it was. And we got live music, which I love. It was a guy there. He had a guitar. He was singing. Really good time. We had a great time. That was a good time, Shelly. And Shelly is a good time, folks. Believe it or not, she is actually a good time. All right.
That's fun. I'm joking. Listen, we have 24 days before Christmas. That gives you a good 22, maybe 23 shopping days to get your act together. Because again, don't call us on Christmas Eve talking about if somebody could drop off a shirt. We're not doing that. We're not doing that this year. We're not going to do it next year. Order your stuff now. Don't wait. Order now. Get yourself the Unapologetically American t-shirt. It's cute. You'll look good in it. It comes in a variety of colors. You can match it with a hat. It makes a fantastic gift. And if you live here in Maryland and you're a man, get your Maryland man t-shirt. Show up in Annapolis and walk around and make them hate you. You know, come on, let's have some fun. Let's be some shit starters, y'all. Get that Maryland man t-shirt. Tyrone, you need one of those. Walk around with it.
I have one tattooed on my chest already.
So order up, folks. Listen, this is a great way to show your support for the channel, and it makes a tremendous gift. And you don't have to leave your house till you want a border jumper. It comes right to your door. You just open the door, grab the package, slam the door, and you're still okay. Order now before the holidays are right over top of you. Again, I don't know how long it usually takes, like 3 days, 4 days for delivery, but don't wait. Do not wait. Order yours tonight.
All right, folks. All right. Well, that does it for us tonight. Tomorrow, you can catch the All American Talk Show. That is tomorrow night at 7 p.m. right here on at All American Talk on YouTube. They're going to be counting down the latest in news and politics with Nika Lee and Phil Bell. So you don't want to miss that. Also, if you missed me on at KJ Christian Conservative last night, go run over there after this show and check out our live broadcast. Folks, we had a tremendous time last night focusing on Pastor John Amanchukwu calling out Candace Owens for implying without any evidence that TPUSA had something to do with Charlie Kirk's murder. We broke down his comments and then went through most of his sermon, because most of his sermon was not circulated. It was a very good sermon he did. So definitely check that out at KJ Christian Conservative, and check us out what we talked about on there and how we really broke down what Christians are called to do when someone is pushing untruths about the word of God. So definitely check that out. Also, if you, again, as I mentioned earlier, if you haven't checked out Just the Guys podcast, their Saturday broadcast, check them out. Had a great discussion on capitalism versus socialism. It was heated. So certainly go over there and check that out at Just the Guys podcast every Saturday at 6:30 p.m. All right. And I saw a comment, I think from Tiggy again, had me cracking up. Apparently, he actually did hurt somebody for messing up his haircut.
Yeah, he said that.
He said I did. Here he is. I'm guilty. I knocked out a barber when I was in early 20s for pushing my hairline way back. Oh my gosh. Who would have thought this stuff is happening at the barbershop? But I guess it's more common than not. Yeah. All right, folks. Well, that does it for us tonight. Thank you all so much for watching. We will be back on Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Please come on over and check us out. In the meantime, definitely subscribe if you haven't done so already. Subscribe. We want to build this community of God-fearing, truth-seeking, America-loving people that value freedom. Until next time, count your blessings and live a life of purpose. Good night.